So your first child was born in the hospital, correct? What made you make the shift?
My goal at that time was to have a natural birth, meaning vaginal, no pain meds. I wrote on my birth plan to the hospital, to the midwives, that I didn't want to be offered an epidural. I'm aware that there's an epidural there, and I will ask for it if I want it. But don't come at me and say, do you want the drugs? Do you want the drugs? You're giving up yet? Like, I don't need that extra pressure. There was something wrong. There was something off about the whole process. And when I would share certain things that really bugged me and felt wrong, I was basically like gaslit. Like, you got what you wanted and you have a healthy baby on top of that. Like,
What are some things that you had to unlearn?
I didn't realize that.
Our next guest is all about empowering mothers and having them connect deeply into their intuition, their bodies, and inner power. As a woman circle leader and a birth coach, she's on a mission to guide women back to their inner power. And she does not care about any of that status quo stuff. Please welcome Sarah Awad. Peace.
Hello.
I appreciate you coming through.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. You know, to me, success presents itself in many different ways. And there is no other higher success than being a parent. And I think that sometimes in society, and I get it, we have to work, we have to make money, we lose track of that. But yours is very unique, and specifically with the way you gave birth to your second child in your house. No nurses, no doctors, just you and your husband. You gotta tell us how. How did you even make that happen? And were you scared? How did you prepare? Let us know about all of that.
Sure. Yeah, it's called free birth, and it's simply giving birth at home, allowing the physical, natural process to unfold as it's been designed to. If you asked me 5.5 years before my second child, I gave birth to my first child. I've heard of free birth at that point, and that was something that somebody else did. That's a little bit crazy. I never imagined that somebody like me would even want to, let alone be able to. And through the course of 5.5 years of unlearning everything I thought I knew about birth and risk and hospitals and safety, I came to a point that I gave birth to my daughter without fear, on my own, with my husband as a witness. And I could not imagine doing it any other way at this point. Wow. And I feel like her birth was the peak, but every area of my life changed also. So birth has been like this thread or this window or this theme that I've become so passionate and obsessed about, but it's like a metaphor for everything else in life. So one of the things I've heard you talk about many times is that self-responsibility. And I didn't realize that handing my body over to the hospital system, expecting them to save me and know what to do, was giving away my power. I didn't know I had power to give away. I thought it was dangerous. I thought I needed them. I thought they knew better than me. And I could apply that same idea to anything in my life. It's like, well, how do I know what career is best? Or how do I know, like, I guess like our whole lives are kind of, we've been bred a little bit through school systems and to ask for permission and refer to the experts to tell us what's best for us. And then that doesn't work for me, I guess. The pregnancy is what you would call a wild pregnancy, meaning I didn't take a birth control pregnancy test. I never saw a doctor. I never saw a nurse. I never took nothing. And the freedom that allows and the opportunity to test your trust muscle and to tune in. Pregnancy is a container designed to prepare you for the birth. And if we're outsourcing everything, doctor, tell me, am I okay? Is my heart okay? I need a piece of plastic to tell me if I'm pregnant, when intuitively I know. If I listen, if I pay attention to all the signs that my body are showing me, I don't need a piece of plastic to tell me. I don't need a doctor to tell me. I know. And that's a practice, because in today's society also, we are so disconnected from our bodies and from nature that it's not as simply as you could just pay attention for the first time in your life and you can know, but slowly paying attention to even, how often do we realize when we're hungry or when we need to pee? Or do we push through and everything else comes before those subtle things until we're like, oh my God, I have a headache. I'm famished. So again, birth is everything. And turning away from the more masculine thinking mind to the more feminine feeling body has guided me to a place of, I think from this knowing and this feeling sense, instead of, I couldn't tell you if charting things and all that technical stuff about pregnancy and the machines in the hospital. I don't know about any of that stuff. I don't need to, because I know this, and I know that my baby's okay. I can feel her moving. Every sensation throughout that birth process, I felt the tiny shifts. I was present right there with every single thing that was happening. Nothing was wrong. It was hard at times, but there wasn't anybody I needed outside of myself anymore. The spell and the illusion just was gone at that point, and
wow.
There she was.
This is so powerful on so many levels. And we need to unpack so much.
Sure.
This is the first time that I wish I had a notebook and I was taking notes. Seriously. I want to start with this, first of all. I got a few questions for you.
Sure.
What made you make the shift? So your first child was born in the hospital, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. What made you make the shift? I want to start with that.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, my son Amir was born in the hospital, and my goal at that time was to have a natural birth, meaning vaginal, no pain meds. And I accomplished that. But I felt there was something wrong. There was something off about the whole process. And when I would share certain things that really bugged me and felt wrong, I was basically gaslit. You got what you wanted and you have a healthy baby on top of that. So the example is, I wrote on my birth plan to the hospital, to the midwives, that I didn't want to be offered an epidural. I'm aware that there's an epidural there, and I will ask for it if I want it. But don't come at me and say, do you want the drugs? Do you want the drugs? You giving up yet? I don't need that extra pressure. I might say yes then, and I don't want to say yes.
Especially you're in a vulnerable place. You're in pain, right? You may not be, and I'm not speaking for you, but you may not be thinking properly, emotionally.
Totally.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Like if you know, it was the most like the crazy, which later I realized I inadvertently asked for that much pain to prove that I could do it. Because I had this part of me like I had to prove that I was strong enough to conquer birth. And I didn't know that till 2 years after his birth, that I'm like, I manifested that. I asked for that much pain. But that's besides the point. What felt off was, so that's my birth plan. And then you get there and they're asking you about how's your pain right now. And I answer their question. She's like, oh, well, so you want the epidural? I was like, no, like this sucks, but I never said I want. And I was like, no. It was probably like 7 times that they were like, do you want the epidural yet? You're so far away. It's at least 8 hours. You might not give birth today. It might be tomorrow. And I was just like, no. And then to the end, when I was basically like blacked out in tunnel vision, the only thing I could hear was Abe's voice being like, breathe. And he was my only anchor, my only sanity at that point. And I don't remember saying this, but Abe told me after the fact that she offered the epidural again. And I basically like flipped out at her. Like, are you crazy? Like, stop. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't. I'm losing it. I have my husband's voice getting me through this right now. Get out of here. So that was how I felt in that moment. And basically every woman I spoke to about that, they were like, they're just trying to help. Help me what? Fail at my dream? Take me out of the experience I'm meant to have? Numb me from allowing my body to experience this peak animal raw pain that I'm meant to? Like, no, don't steal that from me. So that the rest of my life, then I'll leave and I'll start my motherhood journey being like, I couldn't do it. But good thing they gave me those nice drugs. That felt so wrong to me. So, and I could list like 7 other things that I could like nitpick about what they did. Yeah. But like that really is like the big one for me.
Right. So basically, if I'm hearing you correctly, no, to keep it simple, it was the experience and them not honoring you.
Right.
And your request, and not even request really, but your choice to experience this a certain way.
Right.
And yeah, that's so courageous of you and so empowering. I always think, right, because you know the way we in my house, so to speak, and the people who I'm aligned with, you know, we're all about being natural, and even some of my my brothers, we talk about this concept of domesticated man and how we don't want to be that, and how in a lot of ways we're sort of forced to be that, right? So that's a whole nother conversation, but it reminded me that concept of the domesticated man and us wanting to return to our raw masculine selves remind me sort of what you're saying. And I've thought many times, what did our ancestors do?
Right. You
know, and my research, and I'm a man, right? I'm not a woman, but my research led me to, we're not even meant to give, women are not even meant to give birth in a laying position. Did you come across that?
Of course. Yeah. It's one of the like millions of things that the way birth is done now in captivity that takes us out of alignment to nature and to ourselves. So it's like if you accomplish birth in the system somewhat naturally and without trauma, that's a miracle, because there's so many things. And like oxytocin is the driving hormone for birth to happen. It's the same thing for orgasm. So people like to, they tell you in the hospital, giving birth is like pooping. And it's like, no, giving birth is like having sex. You have to surrender. You have to let oxytocin flow through your body at the highest state that's humanly possible to give birth. that is what took me all the way to free birth, because even at home with midwives, those midwives are now trained in the obstetric model, the doctor, the fear, the rules. They're overseen by the government agencies. They have to check boxes on their paperwork and keep their license okay.
Right.
All of that is not centering the mother and centering nature and the baby and the what is supposed to and what is designed to happen.
Yeah. So my other question that I wanted to unpack, you mentioned unlearning, which is interesting that you said giving birth is this universal concept that you see is a metaphor for life. Is that aligned with you?
Yeah.
Indeed. So, because even me, as a man with knowledge of self and a seeker of wisdom, there's things that I had to unlearn. Right? So it's interesting that you're saying that in reference to giving birth, and I'm saying that in reference to the evolution of who I am.
Right.
What are some things that you had to unlearn? And so that's one question. And the follow-up question that's connected to that, why do you think we learned those things?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is I had to unlearn that the birth process is inherently dangerous. I wholeheartedly believed that. That's why with my first, I was like, why would I give birth at home? Why would I take that risk when I have the hospital here if I need him? And I felt, and now I can imagine it's because every movie and TV show that's ever depicted birth has a woman screaming for drugs and this nearly close to death, or she dies, she bleeds out. It's always, it's TV, it's drama.
Knocking somebody out in the room.
Yes. Hating the husband. It's his fault because he's some idiot. Like, it's all like this sad caricature of what could be.
And I dare say agenda, but that's another topic.
Yes. I mean, and that's funny because I kind of, as to why, it's like, my view on history is like totally different. I believe that about 400 years of burning witches and the indoctrination of, the story of when they moved birth into a hospital is like a gruesome time when so many women and babies died. But they had taken away our medicine women and our medicine men and our midwives. And it was like, trust the science. Like the man in the white coat is going to strap you to a table, and they have drugs and tools and metal and this sophisticated stuff that's going to help. There was never a problem to be solved. It was an opportunity for control. And even if you look back at like when obstetrics started, it was like, if we can use the mother's love for her kid and her fear of her baby dying, we got society in a bag. And when I started to learn all of that and connect all those dots, I was like, okay, this is way, like, I never really knew birth mattered that much. Like, it's one day, right? As long as you have your healthy kid, you can just be on your merry way. And it's like, no. They have blindfolded us, and only in so many generations, 2 or 3 generations have happened in a hospital. Before that, it seems like, oh, you gave birth at home? That's crazy. It's like, no, it's actually so recent and so rare that hospital birth has existed, and it's not going well. But we have been like brainwashed. And I try to like stay away from like harping on that, like the man's out to get us, or they out there,
The system.
Yeah, the system.
Got you. I understand.
But there's a part of me that's like, the system. So.
And we have to admit.
Yeah.
That there's also a huge financial gain. And none of us are saying that the hospital and doctors and nurses are the enemies. We're not saying that. I actually work in the medical field.
Right.
But we have to admit that it's a industry that's about financial gain.
Totally.
And so we're not saying they're solely about financial gain, right? But there is a financial incentive.
Yeah.
Because they lost a lot of money.
Right.
By you having that child in your house. They lost some racks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, seriously, the stay, the drugs,
the
procedure, and everybody else who didn't get paid. You get
all the prenatal appointments for them to measure my belly. Oh, your baby's growing. Really? I didn't know that. I couldn't tell that my belly's now bigger and that I'm eating and I feel fine. And when I looked at all the things that they had on offer, they have nothing to offer me. And only 30% of the status quo of how things operate in the hospital is based on like any medical benefit. Only 30%. The rest of it is like what the lawyers are recommending and what the hospital financial boards are recommending of like, you have to move these women through these beds fast enough. And the more procedures and tools and drugs they need, the more money you make. So they don't want a woman who, birth can take 3 days to unfold. They don't want a woman in a room sitting there for 3 days doing her thing. They don't want that. So they're saying, oh, you're not progressing. And it's put on, your body isn't working right, but we're here to give you what you need. And it's not even like a malicious thing. That is what they've been trained in. That is what they believe as fact. When I tell a nurse or an OB that, oh no, like I don't know when my due date is because I'm not tracking. I'm just living. And then when my baby's ready, I will have birth. And
you know what? Please don't forget what you're about to say. Most times they're off anyway.
Of course.
So, the due date, that's just arbitrary. I ain't gonna say no. I'm not gonna say that. It's usually in the ballpark. But most of the times they're off anyway. The child comes when he or she's ready.
Yeah, it was like a very small, not well done study that got them to the 40-week mark. A woman out of this, I was 42 and a half weeks. So like after the fact, I went back and cut, and my baby was not too big. It's like all nonsense. All of the fear. We better induce you because your baby's gonna get too big and they're not gonna fit, and then we're gonna have to give you a C-section. All of it is nonsense. If you have like an overeating problem or a diabetic problem and your baby truly is growing too large, and that's like a health issue, not like normal.
Which you probably wouldn't have if you were connected to nature anyway, because you would be eating a certain way, you would be moving a certain way, and so forth, and whatnot.
Yeah, and even like historically, I used to think like, well, women were just dying in droves before the hospital. That's like my idea of what was happening.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And
like
then
people are living longer now because of hospitals.
Right. But it's not true. If there's like a community that's malnourished, or there was parts of history where women had mostly like, if you're very malnourished, birth can be a little like tricky,
of course,
and things could, but in a healthy, robust, connected to nature, it unfolds quite simply. Without also birth, it's more mental than it is physical. So that's the other part.
How so?
Like there's been like just an example of like cultures that birth happened fine. It was like a happy occasion in the village. Christianity was introduced, and this shame around your body and this fear, birth started becoming painful. It wasn't painful before that. So if you've ever experienced something that hurts, that's painful, but you weren't afraid, you could deal with it. Like when you're sick or something like this, oh, my throat, it sucks. But you understand you're going to be okay. And there's no fear there. And you can deal with the discomfort. That was what I experienced my second time around.
I know what you mean. I actually just did a video on this. There's a difference between pain, discomfort, right? That's bound to happen. Mm-hmm. But suffering, that's a psychological choice. Mm-hmm. And I can see what you're saying. You know, I'm a man, that because of the stigma and the negative perspective on women's and shame and just the whole gamut, you can suffer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, psychologically. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that. And if you're coming in scared, mm-hmm. and we know the power of our minds and the effect that it had. This ain't no woozy. No, our minds really, it has power. Mm-hmm. And you can look this up for yourself. How you think affects your physiological being and how you feel. And so there's your cells, and we're made up of cells. So how you think and feel, if it's affecting your cells, ultimately is affecting your body.
Right. Your body's listening to your thoughts and your words. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And that, I think, is one of the misconceptions too. People will be like, oh, you have such a good pain tolerance, or you're so brave. And I'm like, it's really not that. I dispelled the fear that wasn't based in reality. I cleansed that from the few generations that believed it. And then it wasn't learning. Like the first time, like I said, I kind of manifested a painful birth, like a really, really just crazy experience.
Because you came in it with a rebellious intention.
Yes. Like I have to, like it's going to hurt,
gonna show you.
And I'm going to take it. Like I'm just going to push through.
Yeah.
Versus this time, it's like, I'm going to notice. And I'm going to witness the sensation. And I'm not going to pretend like, oh, it didn't hurt. That was fine. That was fun. It was hard. You know, there was like the moment I have to remind myself, because as time goes on, you're like, it wasn't that bad. But there was a moment Abe was teaching jiu-jitsu. I was home alone.
Shout out to Coach Abe, one of my first Brazilian jiu-jitsu coaches out there.
And I was just leaning on the bathroom wall. And I'm like, no child is worth this. Like, this is too hard. Like, almost like I made a mistake by getting pregnant again. No child is worth this struggle. Obviously, I take that back. Lila is totally worth it. But that's how hard it was at times. But I had the inner trust and the practice in surrendering and softening and like witnessing my own thoughts enough to hold myself through and know, okay, this is really hard. I don't like this. Okay. That's here. This is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And knowing that I will see myself through this somehow. And that birth will teach me the lesson that I need. Instead of, I want it to be this perfect way, and if it's not, I'm going to be like this control energy. It's like one of the overarching like principles that I've kind of come to is we have choices. We in every moment of our life, we have a choice.
That's why I named my book The Power of Choice, which I realized I did not put up here today. That's my fault.
But we have no control. We have choices, but we have no control. And that seems like a paradox. Even when I say it, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But I can choose to show up for this next contraction to the best of my ability And I can't control whether or not my birth is going to go faster because of it. Like I can't control the outcome, but I can choose what I do in each moment. And it was like, there was a moment in my daughter's birth where I was like, dude, I'm in labor. You got to cancel, like, get your class covered tonight. I can't take care of Amir. And I'm in it right now, dude. And he's like, I'll just take Amir to jujitsu with me. And I had a choice there. I could say, no, stay. But the whole time in my pregnancy, I was saying if it was up to me, I would be laboring mostly by myself. And when the baby emerges, I want Abe there. And I would love for Amir to be asleep and kind of out of our hair so we could just focus on us. I wasn't attached to making sure that happened. But that was truly my desire, and I was truly aligned to that. And in that moment, I had a choice. Tell Abe to stay home with Amir, and then Amir would have seen and gotten excited and probably not gone to bed, and who knows what would have happened. But in that moment, I was like, okay, like, yeah, I'm in alignment, and when I said I wanted to be alone, I actually meant it. I wasn't just saying that. It's the truth. I want to be alone. I can be alone. I trust that I'm all I need. And Amir at one point was like, what if you have the baby when we're at jujitsu? And I was like, it might happen. And, thankfully it didn't. But yeah, I think that women in planning their births, whether that's a hospital or a home birth, and again, everybody in life, it's like getting confused over wanting to control the outcome. I want to get the right job, and I want to find the right house, and I want to lose this much weight, and whatever the thing they want is. And it's like, I'm going to make a plan. And again, all in my head versus dropping into my body and being in alignment with what's truly in my heart and truly my desire, and making subtle choices. They're not big choices normally. It's just every day. How am I going to show up? How am I going to show up? What's true now? What's here now? And that will lead you to whatever it is, because it's like, if you constantly come to this fork in the road, am I going to choose what I say I want, or am I going to choose my old pattern that isn't really what I want? And we have that choice, but we don't know what the path up looks like. We don't know what's going to come in our way and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's man, this is truly amazing being on this side of the microphone and being a student of wisdom, because here you are talking about birthing, and again, you sound like a Buddhist philosopher. I'm big into Buddhist principles.
Wow.
And you're sounding, so what it does for me is like universal truth. Mm-hmm. And I also have to be careful, because what happens is our minds are, I don't know if the right word is programmed or designed, maybe a little bit of both, to put things in boxes. So I'm hearing you, right? And I'm being present. Mm-hmm. So we can have this organic, amazing conversation. And my mind is saying, that sounds like this principle, that principle. I heard somebody say that. But again, these universal truth, and you're talking about giving birth.
Right.
I hear some consistent things. You're talking about submitting, so to speak, right? How does one get to that place? That is so tough to do, right? To listen, opposed to, trying to fit and control and manipulate, not in a negative way, right? Striving. And I believe that there's a place for all of it. That's why there is a masculine and feminine. Again, back to birth. Birth is the most amazing metaphor or analogy of the power of masculine and feminine principles at work.
Yeah.
And you're saying, intuitively speaking, we have to release whatever preconceived notion or even result.
Right.
And I get that because you probably heard me say, like, I'm all about taking responsibility and doing our best.
Mm-hmm.
But I've come, I'm a man in his mid 40s, and I've come to realize that even with that being said, there's still a point where you're like, okay, I did my best and I'm just here waiting. Like, that's all we can do.
Right.
And there is a part of it where it's just like, just waiting. That's what it seems like, right?
Right.
And so there's a dance between the two.
Yeah.
Between doing your best and not waiting. A better word is allowing.
Yeah.
So how did you get to a place where you started to allow yourself to listen to that intuition, which is one of your missions, to guide women back to their intuitive self?
Yeah.
How did you like create that? How did you do that? Develop that?
Yeah.
Nurture that?
Small steps. And I think, at first it's like, we want to do like this big meditation or this like magic retreat or this book or something, like the one thing that's going to change me. Versus what I feel has worked for me is it's the subtleties and the small things. It's nature is my biggest teacher, and aligning to, so like the feminine is the surrender, right? And the masculine is the do. The feminine is the allow, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to call myself out on how much doing I was trying to force, and it was stopping me from, it's like keeping my mind busy, so I feel like I'm in control or like I'm doing something productive. And then I guess, so nature and my body are my biggest teachers, and the answers are always there. And forcing myself to, instead of after I got my son to bed, opening up my laptop and cranking out some emails and work, allowing myself the time to give myself a face massage and unplug from life and listen. And there's always something waiting to arise. We just never pause our busy lives a second to hear it. And it's there. And often it's like, okay, what's here? Like, what am I feeling right now? And then it's like, oh God, I'm so tired. I didn't even know I was this tired. And it seems almost like nothing. Like, you pause and you realize you're tired, and it's like, yeah, because in every moment there's an opportunity to be present or to distract. And I'm addicted to distraction, and almost everybody I know is addicted to distraction, and it's incentivized and it's even praised. Look how productive and busy you are. Wow, you're a super mom. I don't want to be a super mom that's stressed and tired and resentful, like, oh, my kids, I don't want that. And I believe there is a better way, and I've witnessed other women have more ease in motherhood, and I mean, everything from like aligning to my period, but when you're pregnant you don't have that. But yeah, and like nature, it's winter right now. Are we angry at the flowers for being so lazy and not showing up? No, like, they know that that's not how it works. And to spend time just wishing that it was summer already. I love summer. I love the heat. I want to wear a sundress. I'm tired of sweaters. Like, instead of resisting it so much, acknowledge that that's how you feel. Don't pretend, oh, I love winter now. It's cold and I'm uncomfortable and my skin's dry. It's fine.
Yeah.
notice and be honest. And I think it's just, there's no like secret other than like, you have to practice it over and over and over. And the smallest everything is an opportunity.
Yeah, I too, because I've been meditating for maybe 15 years now. I've learned the power in the pause. The pause, it's spiritual. The pause is where we get a moment to see outside of our false selves. Because we get so caught up with the false self and whatever expectations we have. And the pause is so, that pause will not only bring insight, but it will allow you to respond versus react and be reactive. And I find myself that, you know, you mentioned patterns. I find myself in life mostly reacting, becoming like the robot that's due to patterns of behavior. And so I believe that mastery of self, because there's a time for patterns. Like if I get in a fight, I don't want to think.
Right.
I want the pattern of all of my training and my raw masculine energy and aggression to come out and defend myself and my family and my friends. But the pause, to me, is where the magic happens. So I too learn so much from nature. I learn so much from nature, working out, the beach. You know, I'm always at the beach. The beach is like my temple. Yeah, and so a lot of people, because, you know, I'm like the productivity man. They see me, I'm so productive. I'm doing so much, and I got this big family. But what they don't see is I pause. And I need to pause more. What they don't see is that when I wake up at 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, the first thing I do is go and I give thanks. And I'm not trying to get rid of my thoughts, but I'm just striving to breathe, which is what you did when you were giving birth. Just breathing. Just being present. Allowing and releasing. And speaking about giving birth, what about, so I've heard about babies being born or the umbilical cord being wrapped around their neck and stuff like that. And this is probably part of my fear programming, right? So were you not concerned about like things like that? You know what I mean? Like, what was Abe going to do? Did he have I'm not trying to be funny, but did he have like a pair of scissors? Like, what's going on?
This is a perfect question. One, I want to touch on the thing I don't talk about enough, because it could be like I'm sitting here like, look what I did. And yeah, my husband was there watching. It's like, no, he one, loves me, trusts me enough. But like I wrote a poem about our relationship, and I can go inward because he's looking out. And I could try to have a baby to the best of my ability, but without my husband's part, there's no baby happening ever. Like no woman on her own makes a baby without a man. And it can be, especially in birth, like the fatherhood role, I think in this culture, hospital or home, is not really understood. And so men have a lot of fear. Women, most people have fear around birth, but men have a lot of fear. And I believe it's because, like, I'm supposed to protect my woman, and who's going to save her if there's no one around who knows what's going on, and it's all on me.
And I could tell you as a man with 5 children that watching your woman in pain and you're here like, what do I do? Like I had the easy part, right? And it's like, man, I want to take some of that away from her. You know what I mean? So I could tell you, I can't speak for all men, but I can tell you that's one thing that was present for me. Is like, so I had to sort of numb myself
Yeah.
and be like, just separate myself.
Yeah.
Because
Interesting.
it's like, what do I do? She's okay, hold her hand. I'm not sure. I have my ex. She's a mother of two of my children. There was a time where she wanted me out the room, so I just left.
Right.
So we're kind of like, I'm just following instructions.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
So there's that too. In addition, I just wanted to tell you as a man in front of you.
Yeah, that's so interesting, and yeah, so often I'll hear like the mom wants to have a second, and the dad's like, I was in that room. I remember what happened. Like the mother is under a matrix of hormones and or pharmaceuticals. The dads are sober. The dads are like in real time. Like
that's why Abe remembered what you said.
Yeah. His account of things, especially the first time around, was like so different in a way. Like he knew so much more than what I knew. So the fear part, I just like wanted to speak to that. And so when it comes to say the cord around the neck and I feel like that is the perfect example as to why I would never give birth in a hospital, because it is their standard protocol that if there is the baby isn't lively enough the second they come out, or there is meconium present, or the cords around the neck, or they feel like it, or whatever, they cut the cord. Even if it says in your birth plan, do not cut my cord until, all the blood has transferred back to the baby. They cut the cord. If they think the baby can't breathe, like their airway is blocked, they cut the cord, and they, removing their baby from oxygen, take them across the room to their apparatus, call in the team to come save this baby and help this baby breathe, giving them 100% oxygen, which is toxic, causing possible brain like the fact that in a hospital I would possibly be on my back and a stranger has a blade, and it doesn't matter if I say do not cut the cord, they will cut the cord, and my baby might not be ready to transfer. The baby gets oxygen through the umbilical cord for 9+ months, not their lungs, not their airway. They need time often to transfer from getting oxygen from the umbilical cord to taking their first breath.
And nutrients. Yes,
everything from here. And so if something's around your neck, we used to do jujitsu, it's not like they can't breathe, because they're not breathing through their throat. They're breathing through their stomach. And the cord is designed that even if you tie it in a true knot and you pull really tight, blood is still flowing through there. It's so gelatinous and tough. It's designed for that. And so even if it's tight around the neck, I've watched like hundreds of videos of a mom in her tub just unwrapping, where the dad catches the baby through the legs and they just unwrap it. And it's a little awkward. There's like the cord and you're passing the baby to the mom through. It's fine. It's normal. And if you don't sever that cord, and the baby's airway is blocked, when Lila was born, she was not like immediately eyes open, alert, breathing, screaming. She needed a moment, like most babies do. And they're swimming in fluid also. They're filled with liquid and gook, and there's a process that the baby will go through to clear that out. And I tipped her, I wasn't like planning this or thinking this. I just tipped her to help like gravity just drain it. And there's so much science known of just the baby smelling the mother's skin stimulates like there's a hormonal concoction magic happening between the two of them. And then once it's clear, they take their first breath, they make their cry, they claim their life. And if something happened that their airway became blocked or something, the placenta can reactivate. But if they sever that cord, then you need the mask of oxygen because they've put you in such a vulnerable, this close to death situation. And one of the things the biggest reasons, messages I want to get out is often women leave the hospital and the dads leave the hospital with the story of, we would be goners if it weren't for them saving us. And I thought that too. And there are cases, of course, that they save lives. It's just so rare. And 99% of the time, they're saving the woman from what they've done to her. And that, once I've learned that enough, spiritually and just literally technically, all the nitty gritty about how does a placenta and a umbilical cord work. I want women to leave birth. I believe birth is designed to initiate, our culture, men and women are missing the initiation processes that were meant to develop us next level. How do you go from being a young maiden with no responsibilities to the mother? How do you become a father when you were just a kid having fun? Something needs to help us transition. Birth is designed for that. And so it's, instead of a woman really I am so powerful, I am capable, I held myself through that, and my husband was there and he believed in me, and together we got through that. The story is, I wasn't enough, I gave up, I needed to be saved. Now what?
Yeah, and again, it's giving up this self-reliance that I believe we're interdependent as humans, but I believe that we have given up a lot of our self-reliance. And you mentioned this initiation and transition to adulthood. I think this applies here. So I have family that just came from Dominican Republic, and I was conversing with her, my tia, Medalia, and we were talking about my stepfather, my mother's husband, was there, and he was talking about when he was 14, he was welding and cutting drilling concrete and cutting and doing all. I was like, at 14? 14-year-old here, they're just playing video games.
Right.
And so it was a need, right? He was doing it to make money, and not that I'm promoting breaking child labor laws or anything like that that goes on in different countries. I'm not saying that. What I'm speaking to is how limited and underdeveloped, I dare say, a lot of us are. Mm-hmm. And only because no one is taking the time to teach us or challenge us about, even all the homeschool children that I know, they are brilliant. And everybody talks about, the social issue. You can create that. But and listen, I'm a byproduct of the school system, and I have children in the school system. So, and it's only because really I just don't make enough money for my wife to stay home. Mm-hmm. But I believe our children and we as humans can be so much further along in life and in just reality if we just expose ourselves to information, to challenges, because that's how we grow.
Right.
And so I love what you're doing, challenging the status quo and regaining your power. Mm-hmm. You speak about inner wisdom, and I see it all play out in this birthing process. There's an African proverb. Or let me say this. So I was taught that, Africa's a big continent, right? So I don't know what country it comes from. So we generalize it and just say there's an African concept where wisdom doesn't come from the outside. Mm-hmm. It's already in us. It just has to be revealed and exposed. And so I see that in you. And how were you able to just tap into that? I know you mentioned cultivating the feminine principle and what you needed to do to that. Would you say that it was the experiences, because my thought is there's other women who have went through similar things and they don't have the desire you have, or maybe they do and they just don't act on it.
Right.
And even that, there's something there.
Right.
What makes you act on your inner wisdom? What so many of us either don't listen, can't hear, or just plain ignore it. I believe many of us want to, but our circumstances, and maybe this is an illusion or an excuse, don't allow us to listen.
Right.
So how are you able to listen to that inner voice?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I feel like the price is too high not to. I'm more scared of living a life that isn't authentic and isn't like I'm like I measure success in my life just to say I am so happy and I love my life. So something's working. And I guess if you get enough taste of that, that like how could I not? And there was a moment where everybody was telling me success is like to grow, you need to go outside your comfort zone. And that made so much sense. And I think it must even be partially true. But I don't know like where this inner, this wiser self voice came through of like, I don't want to go out any further. I am stretched as far as I can go, and it's scary and uncomfortable. I don't feel my best. I don't feel powerful in this position. I feel vulnerable and tired. I want to go in. And I just started following desire, not fear. And that is one of the, like I have a program to help coach women through planning their dream birth. And that is the number one thing. I didn't give birth at home by myself because I fear the hospital. No, I desired to experience what it feels like to surrender to my divine, human, primal, whatever. I want that.
Yeah.
It's a desire versus I don't want something else, you know? So I think it's like this switch a little bit of, or these checks in my mind. Is this what I desire, or is this what I fear? And so I started going in and following my desire. So I'm not, I got to book more photography clients because I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough money. It was like when I gather with women and I talk to them about their experiences, it feels right. And it's scary to follow that voice and not the voice of like every, person out there. You have bills to pay and taxes and all the things. Like life doesn't just float away. But I guess enough trust, like to build this trust muscle within myself that then it's like almost like I couldn't imagine functioning any other way at this point.
You may not know it, but you're practicing NLP principles too. That's why I say, man, there's so many universal truth. In NLP, they teach, for example, this is a clear example that many people can relate to. It says, don't focus when it comes to abundance, right? Everybody wants more money. But a lot of people are operating on, I don't want to be broke, opposed to, I want to attract abundance.
Right.
It sounds like the same thing, and it may sound like I'm playing with words, but there's an intention there. So once you write whatever, because everybody has a conceptual number of what not being broke means. So as soon as you get right above not being broke, if you're operating on, I don't want to be broke, then you'll go back to being broke because your whole mindset is, I don't want to be broke. So it's the mindset, right? Opposed to, I want to attract abundance.
Right.
Right. And then having a plan and so forth, how you're going to,
Right.
I think there should be numbers and things involved, a little bit of both of everything, the masculine and feminine principle. And speaking about masculine and feminine principle, as a man, what message do you have for men in terms of, and I really want to say that I appreciate you because you're all about women empowerment. You host Women's Circle, you're a birth coach, but you honor the masculine presence and you honor men and their role as well.
Totally.
And as a man, I just want to tell you that I truly appreciate that. So what message do you have for men in particular?
What comes to mind is thank you. And in a way, I'm sorry at the, like, I feel like so often people are like, "Oh, women, like we're the victims of the world. Us poor women is this," and it's like I don't feel that way. I don't want to be on a battlefield personally. I'm very thankful that somehow men are willing to do that for us. And you know, we're not living in tribes necessarily, or you know, we're not all soldiers or whatever, but just in general. And when I had a newborn, when Lila was a tiny baby, I had her strapped, and I was like in Target, like struggling. You know, she's fussy, and I'm like trying to bounce her and keep her quiet and struggling with the cart. There was like 3 or 4 occasions that a man, he was probably like 19, was like the youngest. One was like a father. He's like, I got 2 kids. I get it. They stepped in to just help me with my bag or took my cart back for me. The way that touched me, and the way I felt like how unfair that the current story around men is that they're selfish and just like buffoons, or like this. Oh, it makes me crazy because I'm like, I don't know where you get that from, because I was just at Target struggling, and some 19-year-old kid noticed and came up to me and said, "Can I take your cart for you?" Thank you. You didn't have to do that. And he's probably going to be kind of like navigating a world that doesn't appreciate him, and he does it anyway.
And think he's toxic.
Yeah.
For
yeah, and again, like I can be a mother, I can be soft, I can meditate and all of these things that I can meet with women because my husband is out there. Like I can walk with grace and without fear because my husband and many other men are out there ready to protect. And
shout out, man. I just want to say shout out to your husband.
Yeah.
For being a man.
Yes. I like, gosh, I'm so grateful for him. And that's been such a passion project. Like, talk about unlearning to anything that might have been like nitpicky to me. Like if you know, he doesn't notice a certain thing that I notice, well, guess what? He knows what the difference between a router and a modem is. Thank you, because I don't. And just really, really like having almost devotion to our differences as like, thank you for being so different. And then allowing myself to not be the full village. Like we're an organism, our family, and I don't have to pretend to know it all and do it all, and it just, there's so much ease when we let go of that story of, and I've noticed, you know, the typical feminine thing is like women can do anything that men can do. And of course, I'm glad we can vote, and I'm glad I can get a job if I want to, and I'm glad my husband can't beat me if he wanted to. All good things. Great. Thank you. Of course.
And you're a martial artist, right?
I will kick back. But,
indeed.
But I actually, it's funny. Like what I love about him is that he could kill me easily, and he chooses not to.
That's right.
Like there's this like primal thing again that I think is not like in the animal kingdom. The females, they're looking like every women look like, I want a bad boy, like especially when we're young. That's like what we're, you know why? Because when things get real, you want the scariest guy, and that's like women aren't allowed to be women today. Moms are supposed to work and have college degrees and fix their own car and change their own oil, and like we can do it all. We don't need men. And then men are not allowed to be men. You're not like allowed to just love the UFC. Oh, it's so violent. And you're not allowed to hold the door for a woman. What are you saying? I'm incapable of holding a door? Like all of that I have dispelled for myself and has brought me to this place of just appreciation and ease and alignment to what feels true and natural in my body. And I don't want to be afraid, I want to be protected.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson, and I'm going to paraphrase, he talks about as far as men, he's like, men should be monsters. Mm-hmm. Right? And he talks about how it's almost like praised and considered noble when a man is harmless. But he said that's not noble. You know what's noble? When a man is a monster and he chooses not to be harmless.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he
Right.
talks about it's better to be a warrior in a garden versus a gardener. And
that's one of my favorite quotes. Yeah.
And so that's what I think too. And society has gotten off that, men are supposed to be soft and weak.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And so forth. And I was like, nah, man. So that's why you'll hear me. I'm like, love and strength, peace and power, and I talk about, it's funny. I shouldn't have to say traditional masculinity or traditional manhood. It's just manhood.
Right.
But I have to say traditional to make sure that everybody knows it's like a code word of what I'm really talking about. But I really want to say thank you so much, Sarah, for just acknowledging and seeing who we are, us real men, and seeing who we are and appreciating us. Because you don't understand, I mentor young men. I move with a lot of men, and I got a lot of men in my circle. And a lot of us just struggle with being who we are, innate, right? You talk about innate, right?
Yeah.
And also being just appreciated. We don't even want to be acknowledged. I like to be acknowledged, but just appreciated and respected. And so thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
What is your, I know when you have women's circles, there's a lot that you speak about, and it's based on individuals and whatnot. But what is your overall message or theme that you express with your clients or the other women in your circle?
Yeah. So the women's circle is like non-mother and birth related. It's really just for all women in all stages of life. And the reason I started doing it was just, we are not supposed to be isolated. The village, and
that's hurting us on a whole other level.
Yeah, like for men, for women.
Right.
And I would have conversations with each of my girlfriends or my sisters, and it's like we're feeling and experiencing the same thing, but everybody thinks it's them, and it's like so lonely. So I came across this work by accident, and one day I was literally like, who wants to come hang out in the woods with me and just talk? And surprisingly, like 12 women were willing to do this, and then we all left it like feeling renewed and alive again, and like, wow, one, I was in the woods, in nature. And two, I met a woman, a total stranger, and found out that I have so much in common with her. And I see so much of me in her, somebody that maybe on paper or, at the bus stop I would have kind of side-eyed, or all again, like that cattiness that's been kind of programmed to like no, 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 no. We are here for each other. And there's a saying that what happens to one woman happens to all women. And I can, if I see something happen to one of like great success by one of the women I know in my life, I am so happy. It doesn't take away from me. And to just be able to cheer each other on and hold each other in everybody's going through something. Just reweaving another piece of, I think, our primal humanity that's just missing so much right now.
That's right. Yeah, definitely let me know when you have another one. I'm gonna let my daughters know about them.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, get this, I'm part of a few men's circles.
Oh, I love that.
And I'm gonna tell you, it's universal. Everything you said, I could have easily answered the same way.
Wow.
About the men's circles.
Yeah.
Yeah, even every Sundays. I mean, that's men and women, but you know, those are just bonding. You know, we're bonding in a physical way. And I think that society has got us on this isolated stuff. Like even people bug out when you know, like the societal norm, right? People say, don't tell other people about your relationship problems, right? Don't tell nobody.
Right.
My wife and I, we have a village. We tell people. We don't tell everybody our business because everybody don't qualify to know our business.
Right.
But we don't keep it to ourselves. As a matter of fact, my wife sent me a long text message just expressing how hurt she was and how she's experiencing certain things in our marriage. And she told me, show your men the message. Like, yeah, maybe they can, you know what I mean, express certain things or whatever. Because I understand, we are both very aware. Number one, this is my brain, this is her brain. We're married. She's a woman, I'm a man. There's certain things that I don't see. That we have blind spots.
Yeah.
Right. So the village is what it's about. And and if you study our indigenous cultures and our indigenous ways, men were with men most of the time.
Yes.
Women were with women most of the time. Being isolated and being alone equaled you may not survive, or you broke one of the value systems and principles of the village and you're outcasted for a reason. So being isolated was actually a punishment.
Totally.
And even then there was a certain process where you can be led back in. I study this stuff, right?
Wow,
Not claiming I'm some expert on indigenous cultures, but I definitely have studied this in my search of masculinity and how to be a man.
Yeah.
Right? And how to be the best man and best version of myself. So that's really what it's about. This isolated stuff is not natural. It may work for some of you, cool, but it doesn't work for me. And I've seen the results and how it works for other men. And now based on what you're telling me, it also works for other women.
Yeah.
So we really need to unite and create circles based on our own individual likes and somewhat. You know, like you may not like my men's circle, so create or find your own.
Right.
Based on your values and whatnot.
Right.
So I think that's super dope. In addition to the message, right? I think, and I don't want to think for you or speak for you, in terms of young women and preparing themselves for becoming mothers and giving birth, you also take care of yourself. So, right, you know, because I did my research as a journalist, right, and some of your lifestyle practices and whatnot, and I see you have spiritual practices, you have certain eating practices. I mean, the way you look, you look like you're fit and you look like you're healthy, right? I know sometimes the way you look doesn't matter because it's all about the inside, right? But I also know you personally. I know you train and you do physical things. So I think that that's something, again, I'm a man, not a woman, but I think that that's something that women can also learn, like take care of your bodies, you know, and that just by just by taking care of your body, you're preparing your body.
Yeah.
Would you agree as a woman? I don't want to speak for women or you.
Yeah. The diet culture and I'll go last, like being small, like, oh, I just eat the crust of my kid's lunch because, I don't have time to. That is not serving anybody. I get so snippy when I'm hungry, and to nourish myself with enough food and the quality of food, it's one of those things, again, it's just being in alignment. You can't ignore your body and pretend that you don't need enough nutrients and you're just going to run on fumes and thrive. Like, our brains need enough saturated fat and to breastfeed for years on end, and minerals, and you need to really replenish yourself. So that's definitely been something. I don't know why I've always just had this like love and respect for my body in that way. But I'm continually like, don't let the morning get away from me and then I haven't eaten. Hormonally, for a woman, that's detrimental.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also learned just from studying health and fitness and coming across information that when women crave while they're pregnant, right? Because this is like, again, right? Movies and all of that. Women are crave. It's the whole, I want some ice cream.
Yeah.
And sending their husbands to Walgreens at 1 a.m. to get ice cream.
Right.
Right. And the husband, again, like a buffoon.
Yeah.
Okay, honey.
Right.
And so what I learned is, okay, your mind might be saying ice cream, and I'm just using ice cream as an example, because that's what you have in reference to your kitchen, but ice cream is not a real food.
Right.
It's junk, right? So let's, and listen, bro, everybody got to cheat meals and all of that.
Right.
I'm not knocking you if you eat ice cream. And so what we have to know is like, okay, what is my body really craving? And you don't even have to be pregnant, right? Even me as a man, there's sometimes I may be craving something that I know is unhealthy, right? Let's say like chocolate. I love chocolate. So, and I eat chocolate sometimes, but it's like, okay, it's Monday because I don't eat junk during the week. Okay. So I'm like, okay, it's Monday, but I'm craving chocolate. What nutrient or mineral am I really needing right now? But my body is saying, hey, get that chocolate because it's faster, because it has sugar. And the body metabolizes sugar faster than anything else. So it's like an easy way to get a fix, right? So I think that that's important to say for women because, they're eating these junk foods and you're pregnant. And so I think that in a way, again, I don't want to speak for women, I'm a man, but women need to be in tune with nutrition.
Totally.
And understand that cravings doesn't mean go get 10 Snickers bar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's just about, okay, Snickers has peanuts. Am I craving protein right now? Okay, maybe you just need something sweet. You need some energy. Let me go get some fruits.
Right.
And so absolutely. I just wanted to add that to the mix.
One thing interestingly that I noticed is like as I became more in tune with my body and more wild and more all the things.
Yeah.
This second pregnancy, all I wanted was like meat on the bone. I was like a carnivore. And my daughter now, she's a little carnivore. Like with one and a half little baby teeth, she's like, give me that chicken.
Uh-huh.
And I found that really fascinating where like, and then I could then go look up the importance of collagen and like animal fat and animal protein. And it's funny, they'll say no sushi for, women during their pregnancy, no runny egg yolks. It's all a fear. What if you get this? Okay, well, if you're getting quality food, quality sushi.
Wild caught.
Right. Quality eggs.
Pasture raised, organic.
Yeah, the risk of this it's so small, like please. And I crave runny eggs, like basically raw eggs when I'm pregnant, and all I wanted was sushi and meat and like all the things you're not supposed to have. And again, I don't have any midwife or doctor or anybody telling me. Even if they did, I'd be like, thank you, goodbye. Like, but all of that was gone. All I was listening to was, what does my body want? And it spoke loud and clear. And then when I would go actually Google it, there's nutrients that's killed off if you cook the egg fully. And those specific nutrients are massively important to build a baby.
Or like the yolk. The yolk is the most important part.
Right. Remember the day of egg white omelets? Remember back then? Like, oh, geez.
Wildin', yo. Wildin'. Yeah. Now this has been an amazing conversation, and I think that it's the most important conversation for real. Like, what's more important than bringing forth life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing with us the wisdom and how to do this in a very unique way. It's weird to even say unique because, you know, we practice the same thing for the most part. So to me, it's not unique.
Right.
But I understand that for the world, it is to have a home birth and
It's a
whatnot.
little counterculture.
Indeed. Home birth, homeschool.
Right.
And cooking at home. Whoa, you know what I'm saying? Now you're a real revolutionary.
Right.
What has been your like biggest challenge when it comes to being a mom, giving birth and everything? What has been your biggest challenge, and how do you overcome it?
I guess the lack of the village, because I can reinvent myself inside and out. And my husband, as it's funny because Abe, you know, he's like working a lot and then just like, let me watch the UFC, and like he's not as into this stuff, but man, he has just stayed right by my side through like he really gets it in his own complete unique path, which is I'm so grateful for. But I can reinvent myself, and I can have chosen the right partner for me who believes and shares these values, and whatever, we're on this great path and we're creating this great life and experiencing pregnancy in this magical free way, and I still live in a world that doesn't see that and actually tells me what I'm doing is wrong or just doesn't get it, or it can be so lonely that, of course, I have friends. I'm not the only one who free births. There's people out there that, you know, this is a whole thing, but you know, it can be lonely. And then even not just the way that I'm going through this, I would say for all mothers and all parents and all families, the village is like it's unrecognizable. And so I heard one time on a podcast that in a traditional village structure, a mother would have 10 people on like that she could call upon at any moment if she needed a hand.
Indeed. That's a fact.
That brought me like to tears. I couldn't imagine having really right now, realistically, one person who I feel comfortable enough to like call upon, unless it was like like I have friends and like my sisters and like, you know, I have people in my life who love me and support me, but like, you know, like, okay, I know you're a busy mom who's tired and needs to put food on the table. Can you drive 30 minutes to give me like, it's just not realistic.
And I'm going to tell you as a man, right? So my wife and I, we're part of an amazing village that I love and I appreciate so much. However, a lot of us live far away from each other.
Right.
So what happens is it causes friction in the marriage because you're not supposed to be doing this alone. So now you're sort of relying on each other. And I'm not saying men are like can't step up, but a lot of times we don't understand what you really need. And I'm not saying all men, right?
We don't always know how to ask.
True. Thank you. Right. So yeah, that village piece is huge. And again, it's not natural.
Right.
It's just not natural, and we're not supposed to be living this way.
Right.
What's your favorite book and why?
Oh, geez. I'm so not a book girly. Like it in relationship to birth, like a book recommend or like
or favorite quote or anything.
I guess I should have read your book, and then I would have a favorite book.
Definitely.
I would have to say I don't know.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for thank you for that. Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah, we'll have to get you a copy of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. 100 years from now.
Okay. Yes.
Actually, before I get to that question, a lot of us are curious about the gender of our child. It's sort of the fun part of the, they have revealing parties.
Gender reveal.
Gender reveals. There you go. You having a natural free birth. Did you know? You waited. Wow.
Yeah. I even joked, like, technically I never took a pregnancy test, and maybe I'm not pregnant. I have a parasite or something, right? Like, I didn't know anything. I had a deep, deep, deep desire for a daughter. So people would be like, do you have any, like, sense or feeling? Can you tune in the baby spirit? Like, can you feel what you're having? And I'm like, I had a few dreams, and a few people, told me what they sensed, but my desire for a daughter was so blatantly louder than any other, more subtle, that I was like, I don't know. All I know is what I want. So probably my peak life experience was Abe saying, what is it? And me looking to find that I had a daughter, and like, God.
Amazing. I'll share something funny with you. La abuela mía, my grandmother, rest in power, Cristina, I miss you. Every time, so I had 5 children, 2 mothers. Every time the mothers were pregnant and my grandmother would see the belly, she knew what the gender was. Real talk.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
She'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you having a son. Oh, that's a girl, easy. And I don't know how my grandmother did it. I don't know.
That's
you know
cool.
What I'm saying? She's no longer with us. We miss her a lot. 100 years from now, what would you want your legacy to be?
I think that I helped lead the way, like, by leading the way, by example. I helped a remembrance, bringing back what was forgotten by accident, lost just to time, and stolen from us on purpose. And that I'm able to show the way to our true animal, human, more wild, more at peace, more aligned existence here, purpose here.
Tell you one thing, if one person matters and that person being me, we don't even gotta wait 100 years because you already accomplished that.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet.
Thank you so much for your time, your generosity, sharing your story with us, your wisdom. And we really appreciate you. I know you're busy. You're a mom, photographer, got a whole bunch of things going on. And I want to say shout out to your husband, Coach Abe, who's, one of my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coaches from Sub Force. I appreciate the type of man that you are that allows this woman to feel protected, provided for, so she could be her feminine self, which allows her to be her best version of herself, so she can gift us with all of this. And thank you for trusting me. She's in my care. She's protected for sure. That's no doubt. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Indeed. This was very insightful. If you know anybody that wants to know more about the birthing process, or what it means to be a woman, or how a man can support their woman, and just, this has been such an amazing conversation, definitely share this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and press that like button. You already know what it is. Let's get it.